Hello, this is Dread, and in today's video topic, we're going to be going over probably one of the bigger changes that's coming in last Epoch 1.2, and that's going to be the Mastery Respec. So if you don't know, for the entirety of 4 years of last Epoch's existence, you were never able to respecialize your mastery. You were able to change your skills, your passives, your gear, all of that, but you were never able to change your mastery. This led there to be a little bit of a weird meta in terms of leveling because there are certain classes that have better leveling specs than others. So like, for instance, leveling as a warlock is significantly better for the most part in terms of speed than like leveling a necromancer. As someone who has leveled hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of characters over hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours, you can go look if you want, I can tell you that leveling a warlock is significantly faster than leveling a necromancer in terms of speed, right? And that's the thing I want to like accentuate today is speed, right? If you go slow, this doesn't matter to you, but if you want to go fast, this matters to you. So they're gonna be changing it, and Mike talked about it in the Ask the Devs section of the Discord. So I wanted to just throw my hat in the ring because, you know, I play this game way too much and I've leveled way too many characters. I think that this is an overall positive change. You guys know me as someone who is completely honest when I, can be, right? Like, whenever I talk about something, I will give you my honest thoughts on it, even if it's severely negative, even at the cost of people calling me a negative Nancy constantly, even though like I am insanely positive about the game 99% of the time. But if I don't like something, I will make sure that you guys know it. And let me tell you, this system is a great change. It's a great change for a myriad of different reasons. The first reason that I'm going to list now is you just get to play what you want. I know that's such a crazy thing to say these days, but like just being able to level with the same comfort build every so often, like there's a reason why people play D3 and D2 to this day. It's because the game hasn't changed that much. And like people like that kind of comfort. People like being able to log into last Epoch and level as the same, like, I don't know, warlock build every single time, and then maybe play a necromancer or lich later, right? I think that is something that people prefer over dislike, because a lot of these people who play the game, they only play for like maybe a week at most, and leveling is a large portion of their playtime, and usually they want to play something that feels comfortable and familiar instead of playing something weird. And this would cause them to never kind of like branch out and play different stuff. Like, I don't want to level a marksman. I've never leveled a marksman before, but I've leveled a bunch of blade dancers, and I'm really comfy with that, right? And that's like one of the bigger reasons why I think this is a good idea, is specifically just letting people play what they want. Okay. So this is agnostic of how I feel about it. This is just simply just a community thing. Like, people like being able to play what they want to play. The second reason I think it's good, holy shit, this is the selfish reason. I never have to level a necromancer ever again. Woohoo! Oh, sweet baby Jesus, hallelujah. Never will I ever have to play a slow ass necromancer ever again. I can always just log in, play warlock, slap on that chthonic fissure, get me all the way to monoliths, and then respec then. Oh, zooey mama, is that gonna feel good. I never have to play like a stupid thorn totem like Spriggan ever again. I can always just log in, play a shaman, put 4 points in the movement speed and storm totem, and zoom my way to victory. Holy crud, that's gonna be amazing. On Sork, I can always level with like a runic invocation if I want to, or I can level with the Sork mastery bonus for the more damage with Glacier. So every time I level a Sork, I can level with Glacier and do damage. And it's so awkward to play like a Spellblade and then level as Glacier all the way to level 50 or whatever till you can get access to the skills that actually matter for your mastery, like Firebrand and stuff like that. So it's just so satisfying being able to just level a build that isn't potatoes. Because let me tell you, leveling in last Epoch is not balanced whatsoever. It is not balanced. You will go slower if you play something like, let's say, Flurry, than, let's say, I don't know, Puncture plus Umbral Blades, right? You will have an objectively slower experience. Now, of course, for most people, this doesn't matter, right? But for me, who levels hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of characters, this matters a lot, because now I really don't have to like worry about leveling anymore, and people don't have to ask me for leveling guides anymore, because I'm just going to point them to the builds that I level with. And if they don't want to level with those builds, well, then guess what? They can figure out their own leveling build, because guess what? This is a video game. You're allowed to do that, right? It's great. Now, the last reason that I think that this is a good idea specifically here is one of the biggest reasons why we didn't get that many changes in terms of leveling is because each class had an insular meta for leveling, right? Your Necromancer leveling was different, different than your Warlock leveling, and same thing with your Lich leveling. But now they have to actually care about balancing it. Because if 99% of the populace is going to level as like a Chthonic Fissure Boy, right? That means that they have to actually care if Chthonic Fissure is too OP or not while leveling, right? They can finally, make some changes here and there, make it worse for leveling so it's not as strong, so that there are other options. This is very good for the health of the game, because now, instead of seeing it as a Shaman meta, Beastmaster meta, Druid meta, it's just a Primalist meta. And balancing the entire class at once is significantly superior than trying to balance each microcosm. Because, I always say, whenever people would ask me, hey, Dread, what's the best build for Primalist? I'd be like, well, you have to be more specific than that, because the Shaman meta is different than the Druid meta. It is completely unfair to base the Shaman meta versus the Druid meta, because they're insular, they essentially don't live in the same space. But now with the Mastery Respec, they all live in the same space, so every single Primalist can be judged by every single Primalist, and there will be the quote-unquote best Primalist build that people can swap to if they feel like they need it. And this is good for balance, because now instead of having the excuse well, that's meta on Druid, well, now it's just meta on Primalist, because anyone can play it, right? And that will make it so that people actually care about balance a little bit more than they currently do. And I really like that specific part, because I'll be honest, I really dislike having to be okay, guys, sure, my Shaman isn't as good as a Druid, but that's because Shaman doesn't have that same access to things that Druid has. Well, guess what? It does now. Woohoo! I can swap over to a Druid whenever I want. That is really, really good for that. There's a lot of other selfish reasons why this is good for me, but this is also good for the general population as well. Being able to respec your mastery in endgame means that Primalist you leveled up a week ago can be reused. For instance, you're hey, there's this Druid build I like that looks really cool. Now I don't have to level a whole entire new Primalist just to be able to try it. That helps out a lot in terms of time investment. And let me tell you, when you are a casual player, you don't have that much time to play. This opens up the entire world for you, because instead of having to spend hours and hours and hours trying to level a new character to see if it sucks, you can just respec a character and see if it sucks firsthand. Now, of course, you still have to level each one of the base classes, but that's not that big of a deal in comparison, right? You're going from having to level 15 characters or whatever, right, to leveling 5, which is superior in almost every margin, right? I think that this is a huge change for accessibility for people who don't have as much time as other people, and this will lead to the game becoming just more popular in general with the general audience, because guess what? They're going to be able to have fun. For instance, they level as a Necromancer, they don't like it. Instead of quitting at that moment because they don't want to spend the next 5 hours leveling a new character, which 5 hours is significantly longer for someone who doesn't have that much time like I do, right? Still, that's good for them. That is very good for them. And if you think that's wrong, then I don't know. I can tell you as as a last Epoch elitist in this regard, right? Like, I think that this is still good for the game because this ends up allowing people to test and try things as at their leisure, right? Like, I think this is good for the game. I think it is just generically good for the game. I don't think locking the mastery respec is like generally a good idea in general. Just being able to just experiment now to your heart's content allows people to actually find new stuff to play, right? And they don't feel as locked down to specific classes and stuff like that. So that's going to be it for me today. Those are just my thoughts on the mastery respec. I think it's a genuinely like positive thing. There are a lot of people that are like, oh, well, now the meta is going to be stale. That's good because that means that EHU will actually take action instead of not doing balance changes, right? Like, I think it would be good if Last Epoch had a stale meta every so often because that would mean that there would actually be balance changes coming instead of the non-balance changes that we've been introduced to for the past like few years at this point. So yeah, that's just my opinions.